Yeah, in the minutes, I've included the September 17th regular session minutes, plus there's a separate section on the bond hearing itself within the minutes, just to set that aside, along with the proof of publication. I just want to put that right there, back to back with it. And then, I don't know if you probably want to take those separately, because you have.
Yeah, we had several not there, so we'll do the September 17th regular session bond hearing and proof of publication first. Do I have a motion to approve? So moved. Elise with the motion. Second. Second by Gina. All those in favor? I vote. Okay, so then we'll have the October 8th special session, public comments, teacher contract, budget, CPF, and bus replacement. Do I have a motion for those minutes? So moved by Nick.
Second.
Second by Gina. All those in favor? Four, all those abstaining? One. Okay, so financial business, payroll and claims.
Sorry, I've got a lot of miles here tonight. On pages 12 through 41, you got the typical payroll claims information included in your packet. The claims, you would notice that last year the claims were about $800,000 higher, and that is because the transfer happened in this month to last year from education operations. So that's why there's such a big difference there. It's kind of worth pointing out. On page 49, skip one bit to 49. You're gonna see just from third quarter of 2024 to third quarter of 2025, top line. You can see those columns on the far left and the column on the far right. Just the difference in amounts are very similar. Just kind of wanted to point out that the balance there as of third quarter 2024 was within $450,000 of the third quarter of 2025. That doesn't always happen. That's worth noting there. It kind of depends on when draws come in and such. I want to point that out. Didn't know if there were any specific questions on any items within the payroll and claims for these reports. One additional point I would make before getting at the ECA or utilities, which there's not a whole lot out of the norm there on the utilities and ECAs, is that when you consider the food services, cafeteria fund, it has taken it's taken a big hit here at the start of the year. It looks like that's because of so much in the way of startup costs with going to a new provider. But a few points of interest there would be that the high school, August participation is up 44% in high school. That's a big number, 44%. It's 28% at the middle school, and then it's 13% Turkey Run, and it's only 4% at Rockville. That is on lunches. Okay, breakfast was down in a couple buildings, and some of that was the way that we were handling breakfast. So as far as the number of students eating in high school, especially, they're significantly more taking school lunch. We weren't surprised necessarily that we were going to take a little bit of a hit and start. The startup costs are always where they are. They projected 18 months originally. Like for it to be faster than that always. Just want to point that out, so you don't feel surprised by that. Those numbers are lower than they have been in some years past. Any questions on any of those items there?
So you said that the amount, we'd already taken the transfer to education last year. When do you plan to do that this year then?
So we wanted to get past the budget approval tonight. We wanted to get past the teacher contract and be able to let the dust settle there and just see where we're at. We have until December to do it. So if we have opportunity to
But
move
it'll
forward.
still be
numbers are just August to August, which are still so early that when we get a full quarter, I think that'll be worth even more than, but I don't have that correct answer for you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Extracurricular and utility costs also?
Not a whole lot out of line there. In utilities, they've continued to increase, obviously. And on the ECAs, they're healthy at this point in the year. We did have some discussion about with Mr. Moore, about spending some of the athletic dollars in the middle school, possibly on some additional equipment for cheer dance to help spread out people in the spaces. We've got a lot of activity in the middle school going on. So, not seen that purchase request yet, but it's just something we talked about briefly yesterday.
Since we're talking about middle school right now, I have a concern about our middle school athletic programs and them not having the safety aid things that they need, such as Band-Aids, ice.
It's the first of
I've heard that.
Does the ice machine still work in the little training room?
I haven't heard that it's not working.
Okay, well, I'm just, I know
but
it
it's
was working, and that's where it was, so.
So we have trainers through Union, I think, right? Does that apply to the middle school or is that only to the high school? Okay.
But I think that if there's a need for us to purchase some equipment for medical assistance, and that needs to be done. And I'm not saying that has to come out of the ECA fund either. We were just talking about the athletics and like.
I hadn't heard that. So.
Anything else? Okay, if not, can I get a motion for the financial business? Motion by Zach, second by Gina. All those in favor? 5-0. And we have a list of donations, Zach.
Yeah. Valley Professionals Community Health Center, $100. Veteran Tree Trimming, $200. Anonymous, $200. Brenda Jones, $100. Mount Hermon Bible Church, $40. Anonymous, $350. Park Vision Care, $50. Park County REMC, $1,000. Marshall Feed and Grain, $50. Friends of the Rockville Public Library, $60. Anonymous, $200. Mitchell Farms, $50. All 35 polls, $250. Jessica and Gary Link, $100. The Uptown Salon, $100. Turkey Run Golf Course, $200. Benjamin Restaurants of Rockville, $100. NKB Tire and Service, $200. NKB Diesel, $300. Scott Pet Products, $500. Paul Taylor Post, $17.52. BFW, $500. Anonymous, $420. Ardell National Bank, $200. Arvine United Methodist, $500. Greg Galushka, $126. Park County Community Foundation, Robert and Alma Market Family Heritage, $750. Community Foundation Children's Pathway Hope Endowment, $1,000. Rockville United Methodist Church donated hygiene products for students. Community Foundation Way to Go grant, $500. Dale Rowe, $100. Park County REMC, $300. Daryl Grubbs, $50. Reader Troush Marine, $200. Prime Cut 41, $100. Gooch Funerals, $250. Park County Feeds, $500. Covered Bridge Antique Power, $500. Indiana State Park Inns, $100 for a total of $10,246.
We appreciate all of those donations. I don't think that there's any schools around that get donations like that on a continuous basis. Thank you very much. Do I have a motion? Motion by Elvis,
transfers to note, a 10th grader and a 12th grader, one from Vigo County and one from Southwest Park.
And do I have a motion to accept those transfers? Nick with the motion.
Second.
Second by Elise. All those in favor? 5-0. At this time, there is no old business, so moves to request and communications.
Yeah, we've got representatives here from Tecton along with DLZ Architects, and they're going to present a little bit to the board about renovation for early childhood and HVAC project in Rockville Elementary that's proposed, and wanted to get in front of the board, just share some insights there, provide a little bit of education so that you can make some informed decisions about how you want them to proceed with these drawings and such. Stacy, you want to take it away?
Thank you. I'm here this evening with Charlie, who's a FinCom project manager, and Phil, who is DLZ architect, and Josh, who is mechanical engineer. And so now we kind of have a couple of projects that are, in a sense, melded together. We started with the preschool renovation and what was at one time an addition. We kind of backed off of that. And now we're trying to work in, how would that work together with HVAC in Rockville Elementary School. And what we really want to end up with tonight mainly is to be able to give you all enough information for a decision that we need. And so if that doesn't happen tonight, hopefully with that information, you all can come together and make that one decision. But we're going to talk about the HVAC and what decision we need for that. But you can also ask questions about where the design is, and I think you have a document there that shows where the preschool is. We're kind of back at a conceptual stage with that. We were really getting into design development at a much later stage, and we had to back up. So we'll have to go through some things again to tweak that and get that to all work right. But on the budgeting document that you have here, it starts with a memorandum. On the second page, if you look at where we're at in design and budgeting process, you see we're back at the beginning here with this HVAC project and coming to getting enough information for you to make decisions with. So it's very broad. The budget is conceptual. There's contingency built into it because we know we'll come up with the kinds of issues we come up against. We have to deal as we learn things as we delve into the design process. So at this stage, it's very broad, but have enough information for you to make the decisions you need to make to kind of instigate design for the LZ. So that's where we want to get towards. The second page is the bond summary sheet. And you've seen this type of document before already in the previous project work. And if you will note at the bottom, there are two numbers. Includes money that you had from a grant for preschool, from money that you had encumbered from your funds, and then also a bond that you're pursuing. So just to see how far we can get with all the work, I've combined those numbers and if you work backwards to soft costs and contingency and general conditions and everything, the number at the top of the sheet is what we predict is available for prime contracts with contractors. Okay, so that tells us how far we can go between a phase one of HVAC renovations and the preschool. That kind of combines it all. See how far can we get into this project and come up with a phasing system that will make the first best step. The second, or the next page, page 2, construction cost summary, that's just detail for the ECLC, which is more important to DLZ, I think, than probably for tonight. We'll come back to page 4. Scope prioritization, wow, it's out of order, page 3, sorry. Scope prioritization, find that page. That's the blue table on it. So the number at the top on the right-hand corner is the number that was on the top of the bond summary sheet. So that's how much money we spend on contractors. bidding to work. So the way we have this prioritized right now is putting up the preschool renovation number without HVAC at the top. And then the mechanical room is going to require significant changes because what we're pursuing right now, which we think is best, is to change the school from a 2-pipe system to a 4-pipe system. So that different reasons, but in your classrooms where you have unit ventilators, if it's 80 degrees in the afternoon, you'll be able to cool. You come in the next morning and in the fall, and it's only 40 degrees outside, you can heat in the same day. You can switch back and forth. In other advantages, in a second phase, when you're doing air handlers in the building and other spaces, you'll be able to deal with dehumidification significantly better in those air handlers. So we're recommending that you make provisions for that to go to a 4-pipe. And we have issues of putting the second set of pipes in corridors to distribute heated water to the rooms. And then we have a number here, number 4. The West edition, the newest edition, has ducted ceiling unit ventilators. We're just going to replace them one for one. It would work out like that. The big question that we have answered is the 5.1 and 5.2. So again, in the West edition, you have ducted unit ventilators, and the advantage to that is that it's quieter to have a ducted system, and it also distributes the heating and cooling across the room. In this room, you have diffuser, diffuser, diffuser. It's distributed. What's in the older classrooms right now is unducted unit ventilators. So here's the big tough decision you have to make. Is it significantly more expensive to go to a ducted system? If you just go in there and say, hey, these things are working great for us just like they are, we can go back in and put a 4-pipe unducted unit ventilator system in there. So here's the point that you got to decide. Is the advantage to having a ducted system is noise and distribution. Over by the glass where that unit ventilator is sitting, maybe the temperature is great, but clear on the other side of the room, maybe they're uncomfortable. I don't know. Okay, so we're proposing this and trying to give you the information that you need to make that decision. I brought some pictures in case you would like to visualize what world I'm talking about. At the bottom of this page is one of your unit ventilators in the older section. There it sits, and the heating and cooling comes right on top of that, and it has to make its way clear across the room. And to do that with the force, it is a little bit noisier to do that. So the real issue here, and the decision is, you can see where the red line is on that document. If you go with ducted, vertical ducted units, you're going to get less scope in your project than if you make a decision, hey, we're just going back and horizontal unducted unit ventilators. So the pictures at the top are from other projects. So you see what that looks like. It looks kind of like a refrigerator sitting there, right? And it actually projects through the ceiling, and that air goes up and through ductwork and dumps out across the room instead. Kind of some of the bigger challenges with that are you have to make different accommodations. You look at the glass windows on the bottom picture, and if you would put that vertical unit there up against that glass, you would have to have an architectural solution to have a backer for that unit. There may be some cases where we can do it on a masonry wall and go through the roof for outside air. Behind each of those is a grill that pulls fresh air in. So you have to have a way to get your fresh air. So those kinds of things change when you change from horizontal unducted to vertical ducted. Okay? So that's a decision that's gonna have to be made to say, okay, DLZ, here you go get this design for us, and let's get going. So really, I think that's the big decision that we have to come by. There's gonna be a lot of smaller decisions to make along the way, once we get into the engineering of it, to make it all work. Oh, ceilings, right. Here's the big advantage, is that if you choose in this phase horizontal ducted units, that's going to give you enough money to move that red line on that document down a couple of notches, and that's going to grab new ceilings and new lights in the corridors and in those classrooms. And especially in the corridors, we're going to be up in those ceilings, working with new pipe and distribution, and even in the classrooms too. We've got to get across the classrooms with the second set of pipes. So it's kind of, in some sense, counterproductive to do the work and have to hold the ceiling back up after you kind of have to work with it, whatever. And then the next step, kind of the cascading effect, is while you're in the ceilings, you should do the lights while you're doing it. They're all fluorescent lights, or mostly in that building. And if you could, go ahead and just do the lights while you're doing the ceilings, get that all done. If you switch to LED lights, that's about a 5-year payoff on energy use. So the sooner you can get that done, the better, right, for electricity. So it kind of, from a construction and practical standpoint, it's kind of painful for us to not get that done for you while we're there, up in the ceiling and so forth. Okay. Any questions so far?
Is there a way to do a mix of vertical and horizontal depending on the classroom? Because of the windows?
Well, sure, that's possible. I don't know how you would choose what would get what. On what basis would you choose that? I don't know. Most of them are going to be very tough to not have to do that. There'll be some cases, we got to figure it out. And this is what will happen, is let's say you decide, hey, we're going to go vertical, we want ducted. We'll go through every room and say, what are our options? What is the least expensive and still practical way to get this done for you? So we won't just be a one-size-fits-all. We'll look for opportunities to get that off the wall. But we looked at a couple already. It's tough. It's tough to find that. What's your thoughts, Phil, on that particular? Yeah.
You summed it up perfectly.
Okay.
When we talk about the ceilings and the lights, that there is a possibility that you might be able to, have the money.
So budget wise, what I'm seeing based upon these numbers is that the horizontal units could be installed along with LEDs and new ceilings, based upon the money that's been budgeted. Or you do vertical units based upon what's been budgeted. Could we find additional funding? Do we have additional dollars that could be spent to do vertical units and the ceiling and the LEDs? That's a decision that obviously the board will make if you want to go that route. You want to have, a strong rationale for why you want to go that way. If it's, the sound quality is that much better and the distribution of air is that much better, then that has to be part of it. I think exactly how to go there, which is there's some mixing and matching we can do where we get a better system in certain rooms and certain, that's where you're at, I'm trying to make sense of it too. But I was there with the walk around too, and this room in particular, I think it was the far left wall. If you look at the picture on the bottom, where we were talking about units would have to be back to back from one classroom would be here, and the other classroom would probably be on the flip side of the wall. Maybe we can get down the roof on that one, but the glass there, you are gonna have to do something. But that's, you're also gonna have to do something with the casework, even if it's horizontal, right?
Yeah,
So-
but perhaps the casework there, and I'll just speak to that, is sometimes what you find is in, 20, 25-year-old horizontal unducted units there, you come and you bring, new ones in there, and they're not the same length, perhaps, and we run into this. And so we have ways to adjust the book casing. You can fix what's there, maybe you can cut it off, make it work, or maybe take a whole piece out and then we know how to make shrouds, cover up the piping. And so it was a little different, but we can make it look nice. Yeah. We have different ways to handle it.
Another, and I don't know if this is important or not either, but just to share, so Turkey Run Elementary, the ones that were updated there are the vertical units. But that doesn't mean you have to do vertical in the other building necessarily, that's just more background information for you.
You know, I think the two big things is, of course, it'd be nice to have that distribution and quiet it down. But, you know, you think, well, have the teachers been complaining about the noise and have they been complaining about the distribution from one side to the other room with what they've got? Anything new, now you're probably not gonna put in an unducted horizontal problem, because there's better options. But if it's working fine, maybe it's worth you to be able to stretch your dollars a little further. But again, we can only get you the information, of course, you have, it's a tough decision for us.
Maybe you mentioned this, where, touched on this before, but the efficiency of one versus the other and the lifespan of one versus the other?
I think lifespan would be the same.
Lifespan would be the
Yeah.
same, and the efficiency is not at those units themselves. Those units are, what we call them dump units, where they just have fans in them. Your efficiency is coming from your boiler and your chiller.
Okay,
That's
we're just
producing.
talking about the distribution, okay.
There's some tough things to switch over to vertical units, which obviously there's money, the reason the money is there. But, you know, every unit's pulling its own outside air. If you go look at the exterior of the building, there's a grill, you know, right on the outside wall there, where it's pulling in outside air. And modern units will do better at using that for efficiency. But, if you have that grill that's out there, like that, it's in the wall down here in the brick, well, probably if we go back in there and put in horizontal units like it's there, we'll use that grill over again. If we say, you know, this however long, if we say, now we're gonna put vertical in, it's this big, and it's pulling outside, so you have to completely change the grill, so there's some brick work, and, you know, what happens with the glass in that area, we gotta come up with solutions, right, to make those unique situations.
I guess the other point that's worth making too, just to make sure that once, not everybody can see what we're talking about here, is we're talking about every classroom.
Yeah.
Every classroom in the building is getting updated to HVAC, whether it's horizontal or vertical, either way, it's a significant update to every classroom.
And every classroom, if we did the horizontal, get new ceiling, every classroom, new lighting.
There's also just the reality, and again, when you think about this, you're starting broad, it's the order of magnitude decision made to get you started so you can go, right, and figured out the details along the way. For instance, a couple of those classrooms have DX rooftop units. You think, well, what are you gonna do about that? Maybe you don't want those anymore. It's a whole other maintenance issue that you're just putting on top of everything else. So maybe we can switch those over to unit ventilating. You know, we'll look at those kinds of things along the way, see what makes the most sense. Because sometimes along the way, DX units get put in to solve problems that are expensive to do another way. But when you're in doing a real project, you can make it happen a better way. We don't know yet. We'll have Josh figure that out.
Key is make sure your boilers and chillers and.
Yeah.
And those rooftop units, I don't think, I didn't get right up next to them, but we were talking about that point. Those ones did appear to have some more age on them.
Yeah, rooftop units are usually only 20 years and they're done, so they're probably, I don't know what the age are, we'll definitely.
What's the efficiency change from the two pipe to the full pipe system?
Efficiency or,
I mean, are we gonna save money in the long term with that?
I don't think you're gonna save money over, you're gonna have better control of your humidity and also your temperature on swing days.
The big thing so when you have the two-pipe changeover system, that's what's in there now, is you're pretty much either heating everywhere or cooling everywhere. You start getting into the shoulder seasons, you may have, depending on how the sun's shining, you may have one part of the building that really needs cooling, a little bit of cooling, and the other side needs a little bit of heating. Well, you can't, I mean, it's the nature of it, you may have part of the occupants in the building that are uncomfortable because you can't do minor. And as Stacy said, it could also help that humidity control because when you're cough and shoulder seasons, that's where you have that cooling where you can cool down, bring out the air, take the humidity out, and then be able to do some little bit of reheat because it gives them the cooling air.
So we'll be able to do the 4-pipe on the horizontal or the vertical.
Yeah. Which is the way we figured it. We have figured just do 4-pipe, you know, which adds money to the project, but we think humidity issues, that's gonna be one of your advantages. So,
Looking for Rockwell, if you're here, comment on the noise. Huh?
Rosedale Hot Shot until 6th grade, it's, we didn't have air conditioning. That's why I transferred.
I transferred for football.
Maybe.
Like I said, I don't think in a new school, you probably wouldn't go back without that big. You know, that's something you just do now.
And it was a system that was a pretty typical design,
Oh, yeah.
40 years ago, probably in particular on schools because a lot of you were heating dominant. Yeah, you just don't, I've been in the industry 21 years and never designed a pipe changeover system, so.
Oh, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
What about maintenance on one unit together? Does it vertical or horizontal happen?
Well, the vertical, I'll let Josh speak to it, but the vertical are a little more complex because they're gonna have ductwork, you know? It's that, at least that much more, but otherwise they're about similar.
I would say they're about the same because you got the same components in them. It's just, yeah, it's just, you're really maybe fitting some coils or you had to replace a fan or a filter, like it's pretty much the same. They are fundamentally the same, they're just the configurations. Shouldn't be much, maintenance as it relates to like ductwork or.
I think I would suggest this, I mean, hearing what you're saying, you know, we're working with another school right now, saying, hey, we're just gonna go back with horizontal because we wanna get our more scope in the project. You know, we wanna get further along. But hearing that, and if that's, you know, you're gonna hear that from every teacher, you know, that's the most important thing you're doing is teaching, right? And they can't hear, be comfortable enough to listen. You know, if there was another option, I know you're already putting money in, allocating money from I don't know where, but from your budget, it's not just bond money. If there was over the next year, you could gather up another $800,000, just do it, right? Because that's what it's gonna take to get those ceilings. It makes sense to do the ceilings while you're doing it, especially if you're doing ducting, because you're up there doing ductwork too, okay? And get your lights in there while you're doing that. So that's the other option, is can more money be used so you can get that red line moved down there. And I'll say this too, this is our DNA, is as we're going along, we're narrowing up the price, coming back, looking for ways to save money at every chance we get, to do what makes sense, to get your scope line moved as far as it can. Okay? Right now, we've got the most contingency we'll have because we have a lot to learn once design starts. So, you got any other questions, anything we can go back and pursue for you? But, you know, like I said, I hope that, you know, we've given you enough information that you can make that one hard decision, and then these guys will start working on design.
Need that answer.
So we can get it. You know, no pressure, but right now would be great, yeah?
So the difference that you're talking about is about $800,000.
Oh, I mean, I know it's, you got a lot of stuff to do, but $800,000 clear through, like duct work and, you know, figuring out how to get.
This is to handle classrooms, not the rest of the building. You know, some of that we don't have to deal with because the west addition, the newest part, has enough space above the ceiling. It was designed to have ceiling unit ventilators. We just have to replace those unit ventilators out. So they're still room conducted. It's already gonna have outside air somehow getting to it, so we'll just reconnect it. So those classrooms are simple, right? It's the older ones that have to be dealt with that way.
And just as a point of clarity, just because I want to make sure that everybody understands, if you wanted to go that route of an additional $800,000, if I'm in the audience and I'm listening to $800,000, and tonight they're talking about a bond and this and that would not be bond money. That would be from our operations budgets where that would come from. We would have to shift some expenses around. That would not be an additional bond piece. I just want to make that clear. That's not adding on top of something that we're considering. From a bond perspective, it is, as a total. Yeah. As a total, it is.
Surely you would think, Greg, that the new horizontal units would be better than the horizontal units that you would experience, right?
I don't know about noise wise. We'll ask our engineer.
I'm sure they do have some accessories that help with the noise, but the reality is you're still pushing.
Just gotta push your,
You're pushing a certain amount of air, probably from a similar opening. They maybe have done some engineering over 20, 25 years, because, I mean, it has been a common complaint with unit ventilators. You talk to any school around the state, around the country, that's the complaint. So I'd have to look a little bit more with the reps to see if that's an option. I'll make a note to do that, and I can send Stacy some information if they have any type of sound attenuation packages. And again, really the sound is air noise, so.
I think that the sound attenuation package is subductive, right?
Yeah, I didn't.
You're not pushing it through there and trying to get it clear across the room, just like free fall, you know?
Do we have any horizontal units at this school, or is it all vertical?
This building, oh gosh. I want to say that Jenny, do you have some interior rooms that still have horizontal units? Is that, they're all gone?
Yeah,
You
oh,
can
we,
think of
we
the-
just have the new vertical on our outer classrooms.
Because the middle school classrooms were done a while back, just before I was here on this day as well.
They're all vertical too, right?
Sorry to forget, but were you around when we had horizontals?
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
what's
that's
the
what we had
difference?
before the vertical.
I
So
mean,
you made
what
that
you
switch
notice
here.
the difference, not to put you on the spot.
No, well, I mean, the old system that we had in Turkey, in our building, it was terrible. It was, our classrooms were getting to be 85 degrees. They weren't working, they couldn't cool. The vertical systems that they put in, they are not loud. The biggest issue that we have had has been condensation and, the trays that have to be emptied if they're not emptying outside the tray, they'll have to come in and empty the trays, and then we've had some issues with condensation on the carpets and things, but I mean, that's maybe 2 years ago, they put them in.
You can have condensation, pipe
So-
get plugged up, dirty, plugged. Or,
Yeah.
You know, and
That's
that's
been
another
our biggest
advantage of being
issue.
on exterior walls, you can just pipe it right through the wall.
It is piped, ours are piped through the
Yeah.
wall.
Any other questions we can answer? All right, well, let us know when you guys get it worked out, we'll get rolling. See, we mostly been, yeah.
Thank you.
yeah. Did you have that on the agenda
to be, I don't like, doing things halfway, is the term I use. I know sometimes you have to, but I would rather, if we're doing it right now, and spending the money on it, done right. But I'd like to think we did that on our auto tech, maybe we did that one right. We built a new track in Rockville that's not even, can't host a track meet, for an invitational. I know there was enough space, but I'd rather get that right, so if we have to find money, find money.
I guess I'd just like to, the concern would be where we find the money, I guess, before we make that decision. I agree, I'd rather do it right than do it halfway. But I don't know where we're getting the money, I guess.
And I would have to show you a line by line, but an interesting number is that it came out to $800,000, and that is the amount that has been planned to be transferred from education operations next year, which is less than 15% maximum anyways. Because we've tried to stay more like 12%, around that 12% number. And that money doesn't have to be transferred like that for that either. So we can get into the nuts and bolts of, here's where the dollars would come from. It would be, do you have to look at some of your rainy day, or can you avoid looking at rainy day? Like to avoid looking at rainy day, you'd like to be able to say, well, we're gonna combine these other projects, we're gonna X dollars here and there. We've done some of that preliminary drill down. I know, yes, it's your cash balance. It's gonna be your cash balance.
He said that a year, mentioned a year, had a year to come up with it.
I think what he was getting at was maybe rolling over on the project from one to the next, but I mean, the plan is to get the work done next summer. Would be-
Right.
So, yeah.
Have we spent rainy day money on our current HVAC system?
On each one.
Boilers or anything like that?
Can't think of any.
We have not, we had ESSER money.
I mean, you're around $900,000. You have the last HVAC project here at the elementary, we used ESSER numbers for a great deal of that.
Currently, our rainy day and
But I mean, that, look at the purpose of that fund has totally changed, so it used to be the only way you could get money from operations to really your general fund. That's the only way you could get it from there to there, so that's not the case anymore. So it's, that, the fund, the purpose of that fund, I don't, it's not, it doesn't have as big a purpose as it did. Because it used to be there to get you out of jam. And
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like, have we had to use those funds to get us out of the jam? When we create a brand new system, presumably you wouldn't have to use funds because it's new, nice.
It's $985,350.
I should probably know this answer, so the bond is already set, we've already,
Based on what's been advertised, that's, you have to go back through the process. There were gonna be trade-offs all along. We knew we couldn't cover all things with that. That's why the corridors and such are still on hold.
other opinions down there, Elise, what do you think?
Wish I didn't write trade-offs, that's the question.
I don't like emptying our rainy day fund, I guess is what I would say. I mean, I wanna be opposed to taking partial if we can and partial somewhere else, but I don't wanna take our whole rainy day fund.
There's still stipulations on the rainy day fund is the easiest one to get to a school, right?
But when you said with money around, you were not considering any of that to be coming from the rainy day originally, right?
that's where, you know, words like rainy day seem to show up, like where they start, where it came from. But those dollars don't have to go to roofing, that's where they're being allocated right now, if they're within the NCP portion of the budget, the corporation portion.
Do you have
Or if
that
they're
page
not.
number? I know it's toward the end.
I mean, there's money, the bottom line is, it's $800,000 you're gonna spend on this, or you're gonna spend on something else, and which one is more important? And that is the whole thing. And so, I mean, to me, it's like whether you're gonna get a Cadillac, or you're gonna get a Buick, or something, you know, kind of trade-off.
My opinion is kind of like Zach's, we're gonna be in the ceilings, we're gonna be there doing it, we should do it all. We absolutely didn't have the money, we couldn't come up with it, then, no. But, yes, we're gonna have to give up other things, right now, it's like, to me, that would be most important, to get it done right, so we don't have to go back and do it again. And vertical versus the horizontal, I can see that vertical would be positive. Now, can we look at what Zach said, and some of the classrooms maybe don't need it? I don't know. I mean, most of those classrooms, that horizontal is on a wall of windows, and that's what makes it hard, because that push of air comes up that window, and if it's hot outside, it's heated, if it's cold outside, it's cool, and then it doesn't distribute throughout the classroom. So,
Gina? Haven't heard from you, your opinion?
I've always been a firm believer in, if you're gonna do a project, do it right. I have a great thing to do on this company, put in the work, and it's, try to, you know, lights,
Just for clarification, on that capital projects, project description, line 14 says minor building upgrades, all buildings, where are you at? Page 95.
There's miscellaneous,
Yeah.
$480,000 in miscellaneous all buildings.
Right.
So that's already money set aside for corporation in case things happen. That it's a buffer, is what it is. Yeah, it's a buffer. So could you use some of those dollars?
I was gonna say, can we use some of that, and then
But we also have classroom renovations, all buildings, as line 9, which is 530,000.
So the money is there, in different ways, it's more how much buffer you wanna keep.
And, I mean, it's a trade-off also on flexible money versus inflexible money.
Which, I'd rather keep the rainy day or something, I guess is where I'm at.
yeah,
we can always use that,
minor upgrades.
yes.
I guess getting ahead of ourselves here, I know by pointing you to page 95 in the budget yet to be approved, but those line items would still remain just exactly as they are in the
Yeah.
proposed budget. There's no, there's not a need to change those. So when it comes time to recommend that budget, it's still solid either way you go. Just one point out.
All right, so I've heard three people that are in favor of doing the vertical units. I am not, I don't think. Couple, any other comments down there? So we can have a motion to vote.
Why aren't you?
I get what everybody's saying. I just don't think it's worth the money. I've been labeled as cheap before. Maybe that's what's coming out, but there's nothing again. I want our kids to have good stuff, but I want to be fiscally responsible too, and try to, make our money go as far as we can. That's right.
What about the lights in the ceiling? Like if we went horizontal and then the lights in the ceilings, is it
think you do, I mean, the lights and ceilings totally make sense to me.
That could be in the ceiling, horizontal, is that right?
I'm sorry.
Are they going to be in the ceiling?
Yeah, both ways, because when they put
Okay.
the.
The pipes gotta go across the ceiling. And just and this is just me, with the horizontal, what we, talked about covers that entire cost of lights and ceilings. And that's, like I said, that's me. I know that there probably is a noise factor. When I was in elementary, I think our heater was over there going dong, dong, dong all the time, and I don't know that I noticed that.
What's in here?
What's in here?
Huh?
What's in here?
That's what I'm saying, those are the blowers, but so
Right.
we still have some of those on our side.
It's loud
And
as
it's,
hell.
And it's, I mean, I think once you're in it for very long, it doesn't really
oh,
matter.
yeah, 100%, but.
Now, the classroom, one classroom being cold, one being hot, I think that pour pipe corrects all that. Now, from one corner being warm and the other side not being, I think there'll be a little bit of that still. But I do think, I'm sure the stuff is better than it was for me 20 or 30 years ago. That's me. So, that's my opinion. So, other opinions?
I mainly wanna make sure we get the lights to the ceiling as well for the project, is my main concern. As far as the vertical or horizontal, I feel strongly that they're.
Can we poll the teachers in the classrooms?
You could, yeah. Odds are, it'll be kind of like when I talked to Kristen about this the other day, they want everything they can get, right? They want
I just
the-
don't, I mean, that's cool.
But as far as is it loud or, I don't, yeah.
That's why I asked the other day if we could hear, go in on those.
I like to just hear it myself to see what it looks
Which,
like.
kind of why I asked if there
I
was
don't
one
think
here.
it's any loud, I don't think it's any louder than this.
Yeah. To me, this is annoying.
But it doesn't prevent you from learning.
But that's because of the boiler.
This prevents me from hearing you guys. It makes me mad.
Like, is that gonna be the same?
And I don't think it is as loud as this.
So like,
It's just-
I don't think,
But Nick, you had originally said it depends on where the $800,000 comes from.
I-
Sounds like we're good. We can be good, it sounds like.
I don't want to necessarily, I don't want to outright know that, so. I don't want to, come on.
No, for real.
I don't want to out of the rainy day,
Yeah, they
fund,
do.
I'll say that. I know that. I want to keep that where it's at, or close to where it's at.
But
Don't
according
share.
to what we looked at, there's other places we can take it.
And when I look at it, would, as a member of our community or representative, would the people in our community, would they think that's a good trade, 800,000 versus? What do you think? Benjamin, I see the look on your face.
Well, no, we
have
were
some-
just gonna share some information about the vertical units that we have and within our own building. If you're not changing out like the boiler, which we did not do here, we got new units within our room, but even within our building, it's either heated or it's cooled. We cannot have both within the same day. So like, we have a day like, well, earlier this week where you come in and it's 40 degrees, but then by the afternoon it's 80 degrees. We have the heat on all day long. So we, with our boiler system and our units, we're not able to have hot and cold within the same day.
I think we're going to 4 months, right?
So that's-
I agree with that.
I
So
mean, that's the big thing, I don't think,
And we don't control the temperature in our own rooms.
we don't have that
We don't
access.
have access.
Now, they made it sound like that was the difference, that it would be able to be heated in the morning and cooled in the afternoon because of the upgrade of the
That's
boiler.
that's because of the full pipe.
Yeah, not because of the
What
horizontal.
they have,
Do they not have the 4-pipe here?
I don't remember, that doesn't sound like it.
No.
based on
We
what you're
did,
saying.
so, one side of our building still runs off the old, well, it all runs off the old boiler and the old unit. And then the rooms that got the vertical units were the rooms that, were on the opposite side of the sun rising, so they were the colder rooms. Those were the rooms that got the vertical units. So, we didn't change out like the whole entire system here.
You think it's the main problem?
Yes,
And there,
yes.
that was a noticeable difference.
And it's made a huge difference, but we still have it where we can't heat and cool within the same day.
Yeah, I no longer get text messages from teachers that.
You're not, because it's not
The
80.
picture of the
Yes,
thermometer in a
you're
room.
right.
And I think it would be hard to poll the Rockville teachers about which they would prefer because they just want heat and cool. I mean, they're not going to know the difference between a vertical and a horizontal unit.
Yeah.
So,
And then like as far as the lighting goes, you know, Bruce brought up the point, REMC, is there any kind of grants or anything that they do to get, to do LED lighting in classrooms? Is that something where some of that could come from?
Unfortunately, the town of Rockville generally does not participate in it.
Because I know before we had started our project, I met with people from REMC about getting, yeah, I didn't think so because it's Rockville, but.
Jenny, noise-wise, vertical units are better than horizontal.
Well, our old units were just so stinking old. I mean, it was just so bad. But our vertical units, we don't have the sound issue.
I didn't notice a sound issue with either unit,
Yeah,
to be
prior
honest.
to.
I didn't. But temperature, it is definitely better since we switched to the vertical. But it could just be upgrading the system in general. I don't know about that.
What
But
do we have at the high school? Do we have vertical or horizontal? Are they like sections?
Yeah.
Did you just say Cadillac?
No,
Nothing's
nothing's different.
All right.
We're
What were you-
hearing
you were hearing
Yeah,
at least,
sure.
huh?
please.
To me, I'm hearing horizontal fix the lights, but I guess that's just my opinion.
Nick, what do you got?
I'm with the lease.
Okay. Gina, still with your vertical?
Well, no, not after hearing their spiel.
Kim?
oh no.
It's entirely turkey around sticks.
No.
Did you hear their spiel right? Because I have the opposite, I'm like, vertical is the way to go.
Yeah.
It definitely fixed temperature. I didn't
It's not
notice.
so much
But-
noise.
Noise either way.
Gotta
But
have
don't
the
the
four
floor
pipes, though.
pipe fix the temperature also? Because with the horizontal, we can still heat
So
or
the
cool.
four pipe will make it so you can heat and cool.
It's
But
just that-
but the horizontal blows it across the room, whereas the vertical drops it
Vertical
down
is
just
coming
like
from the
PCI.
different places in the ceiling. Horizontal is coming from one fixed.
So some parts of the
Cabinet.
room are hotter, some parts are colder.
If the circulation isn't good, then you do have something.
Would be upgraded. What?
The upgraded equipment that no schools use.
But there's no blowers on this, I mean, surely there's blowers.
Yes, there's blowers on the horizontal units. That's where the noise comes
That's
from.
where the noise comes in, because it has to blow the air to the other side.
Because they have to blow harder to get it across the room than to blow it in your
Here's some of
ceiling
the
or drop.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What the experts, they recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
You're on the vertical one now?
I, yeah.
All right. So we're probably not gonna decide this evening. We should,
I just don't like.
does anybody wanna take a tour?
I'd like to hear that.
So if we don't decide this evening, we're not deciding until next month.
I don't know if you technically need a motion on this or just some guidance on it.
And that's why it kind of sounds like we're 50/50. So I just need to be able to tell the architects which way to drill
Right.
down and to create the drawings. And they want to delay it because you want to chew on it a little bit longer, that's obviously.
I think we should have a meeting for it, and really, if it's on the fence, they can go and see what the classrooms are like, and how long they are, and
I think you should go during school hours when all those kids are talking.
then I won't be able to, hear the fan because all the kids are. Does that work? Like next week, a day, an evening?
We'll have to set the building to be occupied, probably, for it to be, we'll have to turn it on as if it's running for the day, because
Yes, let's
If
do
they
that.
work for you, great, and if maybe you have other days, do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. All right.
Thank you for all that.
Hey, see if we gotta decide a color or something, all right? All right, so we need to move on, or we'll move on to new business. We have some personnel things. Dr. Shay?
Yeah, Christina Hale's gonna be on a leave, starting October 20th. She'll likely be out maybe the 11th in November. We had a termination, Pam Reynolds, Corporation bus driver, on September 26th. A resignation from Colton Mullen as an ag teacher effective 10/19. Isla Brower as a high school library aide, 10/31/25. New hires, Mary Westbrook as Breckenridge Middle School IA for 7.5 hours, that's September 29th is the effective date. Kaylin Dickey, high school sped teacher, level A. That says December of 2025, that has to do with pending when her student teaching wraps up. And then Jaden Dudley as a new hire as an ag teacher. She started on the 20th, and if for some reason she wouldn't have been approved, we would have been paying her some pay, is what we would have done, but she's being recommended as a full-time teacher, level A. Transfer of Amanda Phillips, that one I probably want to hold off on a little bit, right? So I probably should pull that piece until we get some things straightened out there. But I would like to still recommend a transfer of Arlene Haynes to fill a teaching lead, Morgan Cooper, second semester.
So then how does that, she's doing the cafeteria 10 hours. Is
Yep.
she doing both or?
Yep. She
Okay.
can do both.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
She's capable.
She can do it. Yep. Yep. On the ECA front, a bunch of middle school positions here. Brogan McMullen, sixth grade boys basketball, Corey Noonan, seventh grade boys basketball, Nick Noonan, eighth grade boys basketball, Tyler Hinkle, sixth grade girls basketball, Elise Montel, seventh grade girls basketball, Lady McCrory, eighth grade girls basketball, and wrestling, Jeff Stevens. That is all personnel for right now. There will be a little bit more when we get to miscellaneous.
Very well, are there questions or comments on those personnel items? If there is not, do we have a motion?
So,
Zach has made the motion. Second. Cam, second. All those in favor? 6-0. All right, move on to our additional appropriation hearing. I need to read from the script and ask for motions on the next three items, is that correct?
yes.
So, the script is on the other page. A meeting of the Board of Trustees of the North Central Park Community Corporation was held at the Park Heritage Middle School, 1151 East State Road 47, Marshall, Indiana, on September 17th, 2025, at the hour of 6 p.m. local time, pursuant to notice duly given in accordance with the rules of the board. The meeting was called to order by President of the Board. On the call of the roll, the members of the board were shown to be present or absent as follows. Present, Scott Ramsey, Kent Cooper, Gina Sutherland, Elise Preston. Huh?
Page 66.
Am I reading the wrong page? Oh,
Wasn't this the one that you added?
I thought this was the one we had to read before, right?
I believe that had a sticky note on our original board packet.
Page 66.
56? Okay. next item on the agenda is for the board to hold an additional appropriation hearing on the proposed bond proceeds. There will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the additional appropriation on the bond proceeds. The notice of this additional appropriation hearing was published as legally required. We will now open the public hearing. We ask you to state your name, address, limit your comments to the proposed additional appropriation of bond proceeds. Keep any comments to 3 minutes and avoid being repetitive if possible. If anyone interested in speaking. All right. Thank you to all who participated in the hearing. We will now close the hearing and reopen the regular meeting. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the additional appropriation resolution? Nick has made the motion.
Second.
Gina? Elise with the second. All those in favor? 6-0 vote. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the final bond resolution? Zach has made the motion. Seconded by Kim. All those in favor? 6-0. Could I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution approving the post-issuance compliance procedures? Gina has made the motion. Kim with the second. All those in favor? All right. 6-0. Now, do I need to read the exhibit A there?
No, that's,
Okay.
you're good. Should be good. That's the heading.
Should be good as a resolutions. All right.
I would point out, Matt's here from Stiefel, and if for some reason you have questions about what's next, he made the drive over, so I mean, hey, if you have questions for him that you want to ask now that each of those have been approved, the next piece of the process is, I assume it goes out to be marketed.
Yeah, so, I talked with Kristen, McClellan earlier today. So in terms of the timeline, the next step is getting the bonds sold. We've already had some preliminary talks with some banks. Banks are always interested this time of year of coming in and purchasing the bonds as a whole. Once we get to the point where we can actually lock in these rates, we're still about 3 weeks away from that. November 12th is going to be the first day that we can actually lock those in. There's a 15-day waiting notice from now until then. So all the hard part is mostly done now. It's just us finding the right buyer for these bonds at the lowest interest rate. We'll obviously do an analysis and provide Mike what the public market looks like, selling to individuals, institutions. That's what we call the public market, and then the private market, which would be banks and credit unions and those type of things. So we'll market it all over the place. Lowest interest rates obviously going to win because we want the lowest cost here. But yeah, most of the hard stuff is done now, and it's just on us to get these sold.
Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, we will move on then to budget approval.
You got the September 17th regular meeting, the 2026 budget was presented. The October 8th special session, the 2026 budget was reviewed for public comments. Now that both of those requirements have been met, I'm recommending the board approve the 2026 budget, capital project fund, and bus replacement plans as previously presented. An overview of the budgets, budgetary forms are included on pages 87 and 96 in your packet. Reminder I had on here was that, I just want to remind you, we advertise high, right? We always advertise high, and then we adjust as appropriate. And so it's gonna look high, you see that $1.31, that's, remember, consistent with what's been advertised previously. And then that gets knocked down to a place where, okay, we're actually allowed to take that amount, and if it's to, we adjust it, dial it in. The only other piece I would be worth adding to this recommendation is that a resolution to reduce So if for some reason they came back and they said, okay, you can have $1.30, you want to have the opportunity to roll that back down. So I'd like to have that approved at the same time, just lump them together unless for some reason you think that should happen.
Okay. Are there questions or comments? If not, we have a motion to approve the budget with the resolution included to reduce the budget if necessary. Nick has made the motion.
Second.
Elise with the second. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay, let's move on to teacher contracts.
All right, on September 15th, it's been a busy couple months here. The board's negotiation committee met with the Teacher Association bargaining a contract as required by law. The association met, voted to approve the tentative agreement, which included pay raises for teachers and was subsequently presented for public testimony on October the 8th at the special session. So at this time, I'm recommending that the board approve and ratify this contract. The TA was included in pages 97 and 98, which I can get some of the highlights, but I think I covered those at the last meeting. I can cover those again if you like. I also gave you a copy of the, hard copy of the contract that we'll be ratifying to peruse if you wish to do so, or ask questions on. But that is the contract as agreed to by the Teachers Association and the negotiations committee, which is that public comment is now your spot to ratify or not.
Okay, board members, are there questions or comments on the teacher's contract? Not do I have a motion?
So moved.
Gina has made the motion.
Second.
Kim with the second. All those in favor? 6-0 vote. There we go. Ratified, non-certified pay recommendation.
Yeah, so, as part of the teacher's contract that was just approved there was a loyalty/longevity clause that was included. In lieu of an increase to salaries for non-certified staff, I'm recommending that the board approve a similar loyalty stipend on a one-year basis for non-certified staff as indicated on reference page 99, pages 99 to 101. Essentially, staff will be receiving a stipend of $500, $1,000, or $1,500 for consecutive years of service in the corporation. The variance in these amounts depends, if you're 5 3/4 hour a day employee, you might get a different amount from somebody who's a full-time employee. They are listed there by name and percentage, you can see 199 is one of them. So, for example, if you've been here 5 years, you get $500. Been here 10 years, you get $1,000. Above that, it was $1,500. I think it was 0 to 4, actually, it was 5, it was 500. So that's where the demarcation's at, but we've got every name listed for you and their years.
Okay. Board members, questions, comments?
This is a way to thank people for sticking around and staying with the corporation for a period of time. This is the way I looked at this. To give them a lump sum when a raise would not have been, may not have felt as impactful over the whole course of the year, spread out these dollars, which would have been somewhere on the total.
If there are no questions, comments, do we have a motion? Zach has made the motion.
Second.
Nate with the second. All those in favor? 6-0 vote. Okay, building administrators and other employee pay recommendations.
All right, so now that teacher and non-certified staff increases have been addressed, I'd like to also recommend increases for the employees listed there. These are retroactive, just like the teachers are. They go retroactive to July 1st because that's when contracts renew or begin. Each of these employees, I would say, should also receive a master's stipend if they have a master's degree, which all teachers with a master's are currently set to receive. So, for example, if you have a counselor base salaries for these individuals. Their current base salaries are listed. The amount they would move to are listed. The increases range from $1,500 to $2,000. If you want, I can go through and read off each one.
Are you on page 100? Is that where you're at?
Page 102, the reason I have 102 in there, I wanted to give you a few examples of administrator pay in other corporations, and I just chose some relatively close, Attica, Southwest Park, South Brazilian, just to kind of give you an idea of, here's what a high school principal makes there, here's what a middle school principal makes, an elementary principal.
Are there any other questions? Think you got any questions? Good. If there are none, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Kim has made the motion.
Second.
Gina, second. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay, approval of emergency expenditures.
Yeah, I guess it's debatable whether or not it's, well, this one's not debatable. This is $24,144.96. I would like to see approved as paid out of the rainy day fund for the dehumidifiers and additional
Not rainy day, sorry, not
Say
rainy
what?
day, not rainy day.
Not rainy day. Oh, it was the emergency
Emergency,
appropriation.
yes.
Thank you. Sorry. We were talking about that so much, rainy day. Thank you, Vanessa. There is an emergency appropriation line that's already in there. We've not used it all on it. So we'll go there instead of rainy day. Good work. Yeah. $24,000 we need to pay out of that line item for emergency. Which ideally we wouldn't have to do again once we get some new units.
Was that the total cost? It's not ongoing still, right?
They're not in there right now. Is it possible in the spring they should have been, maybe? Hopefully that's not the case.
If there are no questions or comments, do we have a motion? Kim has made the motion. Zach with the second. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay, let's talk about opportunity for semi-truck work.
So Kelly Rawlings was willing to come tonight and present, and I told Kelly that I wouldn't have to come and give a presentation. You may be watching right now, but appreciate all the info that Kelly's provided. He's been out there, he's working hard with the CDL program. He's done a real great job with it. He's the biggest cheerleader for it, right? So Kelly has found a 2019 International Semi Truck at the Rush Truck Center. It's got 94,000 miles on it. It's a manual transmission. It's priced at $23,164. And I'm asking the board to approve making a purchase not to exceed $26,000 with all additional fees. I don't think it will hit that amount. I think we'll be all in at $23,164. But I'd like to have a little space there. Should the board choose to purchase, this would come out of the rainy day fund. And a rainy day resolution would be to be signed, which is included in the packet. If we're able to make this purchase, we would then likely take the oldest truck, which has over 1 million miles and has since it was the first edition of the fleet, if you will, and we would probably look at trading that in to get a new trailer, which would be a good thing to have a new trailer. Currently, so this truck is also a day cab, which is a little bit easier to do training on. The Mac, I want to say that we currently have is driven the most, and It's having some work done to it. So they're kind of on hold, and I can't do a whole lot from the standpoint of they can drive the original donated truck down the road, but it's not nearly as nimble, and it's harder to use on the road course because of its emission system. So this would give us opportunity to get a truck that's much newer, and with much lower miles. Any questions?
How much other expense would be involved, like paint job or things like that?
I believe it's white, and we can just put a decal on it, just like the decals that are there. I would expect to put much more into it paint-wise. Unless Bruce has other ideas, you have other ideas?
Bruce is gonna paint it.
What about licensing and things like that on it?
Should be a wash when it comes to, and we'll have to pay for obviously plates. It should increase our insurance.
We would pay for those in the state.
$15 title registration fee, and that's it. $15. Yep.
All right, questions or comments on the purchase of the semi? Do you have any thoughts?
Sounds great. Like the program.
All right, we have a motion. Nick has made the motion.
Second.
Elise with the second. All those in favor? 6-0. All right, obsolete and surplus.
Along the same lines, with that program, I'm recommending the board approve listing the following as obsolete or surplus, and proven to be sold via sealed bids. That would be the 1999 Schultz trailer that has been donated. So that would be one that we would sell off, if at all possible, and then we would be able to get that new trailer to take the place. And we're able to work all of these items. We have to start with first vehicle purchase. So I'm asking you to approve making the 99 trailer obsolete surplus.
Anybody have any problems? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Kim has made the motion.
Second.
Gene with the second. All those in favor? So, okay, miscellaneous business. Like we have, personnel items here.
Yeah, we have another resignation. Hallie Helderman has resigned as Park Ridge High School ag teacher, effective November 12th. We've got a new hire, Reagan Benjamin, 7.5 hours at Turkey Run Elementary. She's gonna be a life skills aide. That position has been posted for a while. That will be entered in again on 10/20. And then a couple more ECAs. There was some disparity between numbers there that I first had in place. So the middle school fall athletic supervision should be split between Renee Uplinger, $160, and middle school fall athletic supervision. Others portion of that should go to Bree Wallace for $320. Those are all the additional personnel recommendations I have right now.
Okay, are there questions or comments? If there are none, do we have a motion to approve? Zach has made a motion.
Second.
Tim with the second. All those in favor? So vote. Okay, second got transfer.
And we got one more transfer to approve here, a junior from South Vermont to Park Ridge High School.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Elise, motion. Do we have a second? Zach with a second. All those in favor? So, okay. YMCA MOU?
Yeah, last thing in miscellaneous there, the, Kaylee Mattheoli, came in last month, talked about the YMCA opportunity a little bit. I've got an MOU for you, just this okay, in order for me to then sign off and say, yes, we're willing to move forward with this. I've talked to both of the after-school coordinators. They know that the point is to still keep them on board as long as they want to be on board with the program. YMCA, one piece, they didn't include PK on their original paperwork. I want to have PK involved, so that's one thing I've asked them. Don't yet have that updated, but I've sent it back to them. Just wanted to give it to you, so if there's something that stood out, there's not a cost to us, the corporation. We're also not charging them to get these facilities, right? The goal, I think, at least from my perspective, the goal is to be able to provide a service. Provide the service to families, that's a good thing. And so if there's an entity that's willing to take that on, take away some of the, the pieces that go with collections and all those other items, that would be a good thing, especially a group as reputable as YMCA. If there's something in the value that stands out, let me know. It looks okay. I haven't yet. I wanted to make sure that you guys felt if there was some, sore thumbs sticking out.
So when would, they actually start providing the services?
I would like them to start in January.
Same people would be for.
Yeah, that would be the keep all the same people that want to be there. Yeah.
People that want to be there then would be employed by
Trained by We're just working here, just providing the space for them to be able to do this. They said ideally they would have a gym space. I said, maybe, we'll find you a space. But when she talked, she felt like, it sounded like she was very flexible with where the space could be. Of course, we would all like another gym space, but that's not always reasonable. So they get that. They work in other schools. They understand.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on that? Do we need to do this, approve this pursuant to, Gary looking over this or whatnot?
It's fine. If you approve it, he's good with it, then we can move forward, that'd be great.
All right, do we have a motion?
I would make the motion as long as legal has to go on.
We have a motion. Pending legal review. Or a second? Second. Please, looking that way. All those in favor? Go. Okay. That's it for miscellaneous business. Let's move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Jim?
Yeah, just a few things to talk about. We are exploring the option of adding Wi-Fi out at Gideon. That could be included in E-rate because we use that area as a classroom space for our CDL program. It's not just an athletic space. So it's possible that we could get around 80% of that covered. So we're looking into that. If that's something that feel like it's a good idea, we'll continue to pursue that through our technology fund. It would be useful to have Wi-Fi out there, I think, especially if we can get it at the rate that the rate installation is completed. The substitute incentive that you approved last year, the follow-up on it is minimal, but I can say we've had 10 people who've stepped enough to give the extra $50 the first 2 months. We talked about if you sub X number of days, we're going to give you an extra $50. We've had 10 people who've stepped enough to do that. I can't guarantee that that's the reason why that's helping some, but it doesn't seem to be hurting. So I think that's been a good thing, just kind of wanted to follow up on that. I don't know, Debbie, if anybody said anything to you about that or not, but. The other couple items, I want to point out, obviously there's still decreases going on in early childhood funding around the state and around the country. That program, of course, costs corporations some money. All the programs cost corporations, right? I mean, they all cost money, and it's just a matter of where do you want to devote your dollars to. So the more we talk about how there aren't dollars there, the reality is that you continue to want to put school dollars toward preschool. That still makes a lot of sense, I think. It's disappointing that CCDF dollars from the federal, you're on my way pre-K dollars have continued to be cut. Something like another $40 per kid per week, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. So we'll continue to try to find ways to fund that. And yes, those are outside sources of income, so that's good. But just want to point it out to you. It continues to be a challenge to get those extra funds. Last thing that I didn't have typed up on there for you, but just wanted to recognize the boys sectional champs in tennis. They had another excellent season. Mr. Slater's done good work. Kids obviously for the matches, so that's been great. Should invite him to come be here soon. That's it as far as superintendent's report is concerned.
Yeah, we had this last.
Yeah, they even made it to regional finals. That Colonel.
Wasn't that the number one team in the state? It was.
Colonel win the state this year?
I think they were ranked number one.
I think they were
I don't know if
the
they
state
were-
champions the last 2 years.
They're doing excellent work there.
All right, any questions for Dr. Campbell on his report? Or anything else? Okay, we'll move on to comments from the public. All right.
Just a question that you might pose to your financial people, is you earn a interest on that bond over a period of time. I assume that funding could just be made by the end of the project. It might not be significant, but in some cases, large bonds do generate significant.
All right. Anybody else? Renee, anything on your phone you want to share with us? All right.
I heard a lot of good things about the safety program that was put on yesterday in the school for the middle school students.
Tyler Milner did 99% of that. The coordinating, it took a lot of time. He does anything for these kids to help improve anything. I'm sure it paid off.
All right, comments from the public is closed. Our next meeting is 6 o'clock, Wednesday, November 19th. If there's nothing else, we are adjourned.